Welcome back everyone, and thanks so much for joining. It has been too long, but I'm excited to be back and I'm looking forward to sharing another educational disc golf diagram with you all. I'm Joel Freeman and you're watching Wholehearted. Today we're going to be talking all about putting, and we're going to break things down into two main categories: nose up and nose down. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've seen the Greg Barsbys, the Ricky Wysockis of the world who let their putter go on that real nose down angle. You've also seen the Thomas Gilberts and the Simon Lizottes of the world who let their putters go with a nose up angle. And today we're just going to dive all into why does this matter? What effect does nose angle have on your putt? And which one is the better option? So why are we talking about this? Two main reasons. One, I'm hoping that something that I explain today, something that I talk about, will help some of you with your putting. Two, I'm going through a major change in my putting style right now. Ever since I first started playing disc golf, I got into a habit of releasing my disc nose down. That comes with pros and cons, which we'll get into soon. But after a decade of releasing my putter nose down, watching myself hit the cage, watching myself miss short putts in important situations and tournaments, eventually I decided I've had enough. And I decided I was going to make a change and learn how to retrain myself, my fingers and my hand and my muscle memory to release the putter at a nose up angle. And it has been quite the process, quite the journey. Another little interesting tidbit is towards the end of the 2021 season, Austin Hannum and I were warming up on a putting green, and he and I began to talk about what we've been working on with our putts. He, ironically, is going through the opposite transition. He's become fed up with putting nose up and the negative consequences that can go along with that. I've become fed up with the negative consequences that can come with putting nose down. And so we are flip-flopping right now. I don't know if he's still committed to putting nose down and if he'll be using a nose down form heading into 2022, but I definitely am still committed to learning how to putt with the nose up. So these are all just things that inspired this video and got me excited to talk about this topic. Without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, let's get our first look at the diagram. Nose up is up top, nose down is down here. Left side is regular conditions, right side is a 20-mile-per-hour headwind. Now, obviously, there is some personal bias here in the way that I created this, as well as just human error. I redrew this one because I didn't feel like I did it very well the first time. So, as you can see, in regular conditions, nose up and nose down, not a huge difference, but in wind is where things really show kind of the pros and cons. So, all right, so let's look at the pros here of a nose up putt. You're gonna make more from longer range. I believe a nose up putt is easier to control in the wind. Again, from nose up to nose down, the spread is gonna be about the same. You're gonna kind of learn your own style, and I have 7 makes here. I should point out the red numbers are misses, the blue are kind of 50-50, and the green are a solid make. So I've got 6 up here, 5 solid makes, and then 2 halves to make a total of 6. And then down here, I've got 6 as well. So pretty even in that sense, but when you come over here to the headwind side, I've got 7 out of the 10 putts hitting metal into a headwind with a nose up release. Whereas here, I've only got 4. So you've got 2.5 makes here, 3.5 makes here. But in my mind, your confidence level is gonna stay higher when you're at least hitting metal. Whereas here, this doesn't feel good to just come clear under the cage, or way over the top, because you're trying so hard to get the power on it that you end up pulling that nose up when you're intending to get it nose down. I also believe nose up putts are less prone to spit out. I think that is a physical fact, but I will elaborate on that later. All right, self-regulating speed to height ratio. What I mean by this is the more nose up your release is, the higher you're gonna miss initially on your line, but then your putter's going to be slowing itself down. So even though it goes higher in the first part of the flight, it will slow down in the second half of its flight. And so it'll almost kind of regulate its own height and correct for itself. In the same way, if you don't have as much nose up than you're expecting on your release, your putter won't lift as much on its way to the basket, but it'll also keep its speed more. So it's more likely to still get in there and over the rim. Hopefully that makes sense the way that I explained it. Downsides to a nose up putt, all I really see is just long comebackers, which is a big deal. That is one big downside, but I think that's the only one in my mind. Pros to having a nose down putt is, the exact opposite. Not as punishing when you miss. Your comebackers are going to be shorter. This is especially true in wind. When you come over here, some of these low misses, even though they hurt your confidence, they do not hurt your score in the same way that, missing high or with a nose up putt, when you miss left to right, you're going to sail past the basket and have longer comebackers for sure than you would with a nose down putt. If you miss straight to the side, you fall along this line, it's dead center height wise, and it's only gonna come, 8 feet past the basket. Whereas you follow, this line hits dead center on its way through, but then you're coming who knows how far past, maybe off the page in a headwind situation. So there it is. The diagram pretty much speaks for itself. Let me know in the comments if you guys, disagree with anything you see here, if there's anything super questionable to you, let me know what it is. Let me know your take on what you see here. Now, I referenced spit outs earlier, and so I just drew out a super simple diagram to show why nose up putts are less prone to spit outs and nose down putts are more prone to spit out. I've made this distance from the point of contact to the top of the cage the same in both of these drawings. Obviously, it's not super specific, but that part is pretty specific, as well as the length of the cage. Also, this angle is close to the same. So the red mark is kind of showing the momentum of the disc on its way in, and then after it makes contact with the pole. Gravity's pulling the disc down the entire way, so as soon as the disc makes contact with the pole, it slows things down, and then gravity really kicks in, takes over. The disc is moving so much slower now. All its energy was zapped out by the pole, and then gravity just pulls it down. A nose down putt means the angle of the disc still has life in it. And just imagine, like I said, the distance from the point of contact to the top of the cage, as well as the length of the cage, are the same here. And just think of this space between the outer edge of the disc and the outer edge of the cage as the potential your putter has to escape. With a nose up putt, the back of the disc is already so much closer to the bottom of the cage. It has less opportunity to escape. Whereas here, there's still all this room for your disc to hit and then come back through. Once the nose up angle hits, the disc is already angling down towards the cage, and so it's just going to hit and then angle more so and then come down. The nose down putt is not angled in towards the cage, so it's going to hit, and then it's, gravity's going to take over. It's going to flatten out, and it's just going to be angled out. I'll also note real quick, some of you have noticed from short ranges that I will putt with my putter upside down. That is to get this same nose up anti-spit out effect, but just exaggerated way more so. I have never seen an upside down putt spit out off the pull. I've never seen it because this effect right here is accentuated. Because a disc is designed to kind of glide on the air underneath it, when a disc is upside down, it does this, but like extreme. It comes more like drastically down. The moment it makes contact with that pull, it just makes a hard turn straight down. And so there's a little tip for you, especially in the wind or just from short range if you don't want any funny little unexpected spit outs. Putt with your putter upside down. I wanted to mention and illustrate one more kind of pro and con situation, and that is when the nerves are high, when the adrenaline is going, when the heart rate is high, I think a nose down putt is more likely to let you down. No pun intended. The reason for this is because the nature of your swing coming from nose down to nose up, your putter on its way up has to just land on the correct angle all of a sudden. This is kind of, don't ask why, I just don't have a disc with me at this exact moment. So I've got this funny little paper plate. So when you're swinging through with a nose down, your arm is coming from here to up here, and the angle of your disc is changing constantly. So by the time you come up and release, you're just hoping that that disc comes out on the proper angle. But if you release it a millisecond too late or too early, the angle is changing constantly as you're swinging up. For a nose up putt, it's normally coming kind of back and moving forward at more or less the same angle the entire time. So if you're real nervous and you let it go a little bit early or a little bit late, I think the angle is less likely to change. I think it's less volatile. When your muscles aren't quite loose and firing just right, I think a nose up putt is a little more forgiving than the nose down. I've experienced that myself. If any of you guys watched final round USDGC, I missed 4 short putts in a row, and I think it has so much to do with the mechanics of my nose down putt breaking down, causing me to miss in that high pressure situation. I think if I had a nose up swing and release, I think I would have been much more likely to see those putts getting up over that rim and into the chains, not just because the nose angle is up, but because the release angle I think would be a little more consistent. So that's all I've got for you all this time. Hopefully everything kind of made sense the way I explained it, and hopefully you guys can understand why I'm making the switch between putting nose down to nose up. I believe nose up to have more pros and more advantages than putting nose down does. It's been a tough habit to break and something I've done for many years, and I'm grateful for where putting nose down has gotten me thus far. But I think at this point in my career, I've got to take my putting to the next level, and I'm hoping developing that new muscle memory towards getting that nose up is going to be a big key to my success, hopefully from circle 2 and beyond especially, but even inside the circle as well. I'll also mention, I think a big factor in this debate, and a reason that this debate will live on and continue to be talked about, is Ricky Wysocki. Ricky Wysocki is obviously one of the best putters this sport has ever seen, maybe the best of all time, especially in his putting prime, which I believe was a few years back. Ricky putts nose down, and he is an absolute putting machine. He is insanely talented and has shown the world that putting nose down can be done with more success than putting nose up if you do it right. There are obviously some amazing nose down putters out there, but over the course of last year, especially, playing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour and seeing different card mates throughout different tournaments, I just kept noticing over and over and over again all the best putters had that little baby nose up to their release. Guys like Corey Ellis, Adam Hammis, Chris Dickerson, Cameron Messerschmidt, Gavin Rathbun, the list goes on from there, but these guys have some of my favorite putting styles, and so I'm trying to learn myself and figure out what it's all about, and hopefully you'll see some huge putts from me in 2022. All right, that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching, for showing your support, for following along on my crazy disc golf journey. I'm Joel Freeman, you're watching Wholehearted, and we will see you next time.